Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am excited for today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Friedrich Nietzsche. Our guest, to all of your great pleasure, has benefited a lot from their life story. I can't wait to get into it, from firewood cutter to puppy salesman to towel folder to motocross badass. I'm going to curse a little bit, to personal trainer, to the founder of a unbelievable culture community brand called STRONGSIDE. Mitchel Black, a visionary in the fitness industry and a scholar we're going to talk about today. Thank you so much for coming to the Culture Matters podcast. I've heard for years and years from one of our guests, especially, it's been on the show like 20 times, Eddie Perez Jr., how great you are, how amazing you are. And your praises have been sung on this show, actually, now that I think about it through them. So it's amazing to finally have you on the show. And to introduce you to our audience, so to see that, so one of the people behind the people. So I could say more, but thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast.
Dude, thanks for having me. I couldn't be more excited. I've taken a deep dive into all your episodes. They're all phenomenal. I feel like, honored just to be a guest. And yeah, I've heard nothing but we got to connect a little bit over the past year or so, but I've heard nothing but great things about you as well. And it's just, man, Jay's the man.
Teddy Roosevelt, man in the arena. That's right behind you. We were talking about that before. Why is
Yeah.
that quote important to you? And what is it about Teddy that inspires you to put that right behind you? It's a beautiful, frame there.
Yeah, thank you. It's just the sum of that speech. I mean, I'm a Teddy Roosevelt fan, but like that speech himself is just or itself, it's all about the man in the arena. I think it's so easy to be the Monday morning quarterback. I think it's easy to say what I would have done if I had all the information, but some of the best CEOs in the world are making massive decisions with less than 10% of the information. If you wait until you have all the information, you're going to miss the opportunity. If you're early, people usually hate you and say you're wrong until they say you're a genius for proving it right. It's just like, to me, it's the sum of entrepreneurship or being a leader or just doing something great. The credit goes to the man in the arena, the person that has dust marred on their face, not the critic in the stands who likes to criticize what he should have done better.
Did you always lead by example, or was that something that you had to learn from mistakes that you made?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I want to say that I always led by example. However, I wasn't always a leader of other people. I didn't really have a lot of or any mentors or guidance growing up, but the first person I had to lead was myself. So I had to make sure that I was doing for me what I envisioned the life I wanted to be or who I would like to lead in the future to be.
Hmm. It's May 2007. You're folding towels in Lifetime brand.
Yep.
Was there a mantra that you were saying in your mind, or a vision that you had of where you were going to go? Because for the audience's sake, you just graduated in 7 months from a respected university. You got accepted to this amazing school, Columbia. You've created this amazing company, helped so many people. So I want to make sure, bring the audience back. It's May. You're folding towels and working in the bathroom of a gym chain,
Yeah.
essentially. So was it, was there and there may be our listeners right now that are in that bathroom with their headset on, like we have it, listening to this podcast. Was there a mantra that you were telling yourself, or a vision that you had of yourself, that you were going to accomplish all this?
Yeah, the mantra was I'm just gonna clean toilets better than anybody's ever cleaned toilets because that was my only way out of cleaning toilets. But to tell you how I got there, so the reason that man in the arena speech is there is because that's symbolism to me of just you got to be the person in the arena doing it, and everything on that wall behind me is filled with accomplishments of things that I set out to do or things that reminded me. And there's two of them that I'll point out right now. The one right above my head is my high school GPA when I graduated, or my high school transcripts, and it's a 1.75. It's all D's the whole way through.
Wow.
I do think I'm pretty intelligent
Oh
only
yeah.
when I apply myself. And I was extremely bored. It had nothing to do with the teachers, the school system, nothing. Mitchell Black got bored. Mitchell Black lost direction. It's all my fault. But graduated 1.75. And that the frame right above it is where it all starts. There's a $20 bill up there. And what happened is I graduated high school in May of 2007, but on July, I believe it was July 7th, I left home with $20. And I had $20. I packed the backpack. I called my aunt and I said, "Hey, can I come stay with you for 3 days?" Knowing I was fully certain it was going to be more than 3 days, but I just sold her on 3 days. And and to answer your question about having a vision, I never really had exposure to options. Like I didn't know what was available to me in life, but I just knew that I didn't want to do what I was doing. I didn't want to live where I was living. I didn't want to be cutting firewood. I hated everything that was going on. So the answer was not
Wow.
this. So just left. And then, long story short, I get the job at Lifetime, and all they have is operations, which is a friendly word for folding towels and cleaning toilets. And the only option that they had was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So the night shift. So, what are my options? Go back to misery, or, this is better than cutting firewood, figure it out. But I realized that they put me on night shift because there was nobody willing to do it. So I was the grunt worker
Mm.
that would do it. There's no supervisors. They lock, you have 24-hour access, but they lock the club, so you can't even really get in anyways. There's nobody to watch me work. So I instantly was like, there's no way I can get promoted unless I do something that's so good it can't be unnoticed.
Wow.
And for me, that was cleaning the toilets. Everybody just wanted to, brush through it because it's a dirty job. But I was like, man, I'm gonna clean this thing better than anybody's clean. And I cleaned it so well that everybody came in, they were just like, I've never seen the bathrooms this clean. That's great. That's great. I would also like to work day shift,
Well, that's
and I
brilliant.
use that as leverage.
Why not just take the whatever dollars an hour and buy soda pop and watch play World of Warcraft?
Yeah, so I mean, I never knew what was available to me. And what I mean by available is like I grew up from a a very small town with one traffic light. Literally, we had a
Wow.
gravel road. My dad was never in the picture. Like, it was a rough upbringing, whatever. And people have those challenges, but I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know that you could go to a university. Nobody in my family ever went to college. I didn't know that you could. I didn't know you weren't supposed to be poor. Like, I don't know. I just thought you were supposed to live on food stamps. I did. Like, I didn't know. So, um, I'm also a very intentional person. So I remember going to career day in high school, and I was I was joking, but I was serious. I was looking for the Ferrari table. Everybody shows up and they're like, "Oh, I'm a garbage man. I'm a doctor." That's fine. I want a Ferrari. I want a Ferrari. I want a fat house. I want to do whatever I want whenever I want to do it. Where's that job? And to answer your question about like why didn't I just settle? Well, I knew that wasn't me. I knew I didn't want to clean toilets forever. I've always had this vision of, I want to be the best version of me, and it's not always materialistic. It's there's a lot of things in there, but it's like this isn't me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but it's not cleaning toilets. So in order to get out of that,
How helpful is that thought process, do you think, as a trainer to clients? Like for the trainer to have the thought process that you exuded for your clients, that you
I
want to be
think it's
better.
yeah, I think it's really important because like I when I started in the training business, I had more clients going out the back door than coming in the front door. I could get them because I have a lot of energy and I can sell, but I couldn't
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
them. And
That's
then now all the questions, my whole team asks me all the time, how do you keep your clients, for years? Like I got one client for 9 years, and all my other clients are 4, 5, 6 years. They never leave. Knock on wood. But and it's that like it never ends. We're not training like there's going to be an end. I'm trying to get better. You're trying to get better. We're both trying to get better. We're just, it's like you're in this like third dimension or whatever of just we're getting better in the world. And I think it's very valuable.
Hmm. Wow. What about you see the first time you ever did motocross, you were 10. How'd that happen?
My neighbor had a motorcycle, and it was the coolest thing ever. And he had a big pasture, and he just got to ride it all day. And I was like, let me hop on, and rode it and fell in love with it. I played, baseball for like 5 minutes. I was terrible. They wouldn't let me play. I didn't play any other sports. It was just the thing I connected with and loved it.
Yeah, what does it take to be successful at that?
So it's interesting, and I'm sure this. Well, I'm not. I know this transitions into other sports. Once you get to a really high level, the margin becomes mindset. But I was never the Tom Brady of motocross, but I did get to do some really cool stuff, and I did get to win an amateur championship, and I got to travel like all over, and I got to get a bunch of sponsors and all this and that was great. But to answer your question, where it clicked is I remember, I think it was 2005, I won my first championship. And how it works is you do a series of races and you accumulate points, and you race twice on each race day, and you get points per race. And throughout the series, I was kind of learning from all my friends and mentors on how to become a racer. I started battling for points, and I was like, oh man, this is achievable here, but it's also a new situation. I don't really know how to. I've always been like, just fighting to get in the top 10. Now I'm actually contending to win. I don't know what this is like. And I surrounded myself with a whole bunch of people that were better than me, a whole bunch of people that rode better than me, that were at higher skill levels and stuff. They just done more in the industry. And we started training together all season long. Fast forward to the end of the season, I'm tied for points, and we're going into the last race. And I know this sounds like a fictitious story, but it's true. We're tied for points. There's one race left, and I want to win this championship. And my buddy Travis and we went together. There was sometimes we do like a bye week. So we had like a week off, and we rode every single day together. And we trained. I had my friend support group. I mean, we were just going. They were challenging me every step of the way. And when I lined up on the first moto, because you race twice, they're called motos, lined up on the first moto, I was a little unsure. I felt confident, and I had beaten these people before, but I was unsure if I could do it, and I won. And then when I lined up the second time, I looked to the left and I looked to the right, and there's 40 riders on the gate, and I was like, I got this. I so got this. And when the
Wow.
gate dropped on the second moto, whoever makes it to the first turn first is called the hole shot. And I got the hole shot, led the entire race, won by like 20 seconds. Nobody could touch me, walked away, win the championship. And that feeling is something I've just held in my heart for my entire life of you want
Wow.
to do that. You want to line up and go, I got it.
Do you like to win more or hate to lose?
Like to win.
Why that versus the hate to lose in
Oh,
your
because I
view?
lose. I lose all the time. I lose. I try stuff. Stuff doesn't work out. Like I used to think like that, and for me, it didn't work because I was failing so often. I try 10 new things a day, and it don't work. Like it's fine, but I'm chasing that win. That win is awesome.
Now, when you were, how would you define hard work?
I think it's closing the gap between where you're at, whatever you believe your potential is. Because I don't know. I mean, because I think that hard work can vary on the task, and maybe you're just not interested. Maybe you're not motivated and stuff. So I'm not going to judge you. Like, if you don't think that there's value in this activity and you don't want to put in the work that activity, that's fine. But if you're truly going to do an activity, you want to be successful at that thing, and you're leaving a lot on the table, that's not good.
What now? A lot of our listeners are actually pursuing education later. But one of my closest friends in the world coming on Sunday, he went to school at 29 finally and graduated from Columbia.
Oh snap!
Yeah. Um, so what would be your advice for some of the older what are they? They're not student age, but old. Oh, what are they called? What is it called? There's like a terminology.
Non traditional.
Yeah, yeah, like How did you balance it? You know, were there moments where you almost psyched yourself out of even doing it? You have a lot of responsibilities. You have your company, we'll get into your life. I'm sure many other things going on. So my first question is, did you ever think, oh, you know what, 5 years from now, or and what would be your advice to our listeners that are thinking about going back to school and have a lot of reasons to say that they shouldn't to themselves?
Yeah, that's a really great question with a lot to unpack. I think the biggest part, well, your gut is always right. It's not usually always right, it's always right. And it's very easy to make a decision that you know is right, and then you can justify your way out of just about anything you want to do. So I would say good life advice in general is that if you make a decision you want to do something, go to school, open the business, switch jobs, have a kid, get married, date the girl, ask her out, it's do it, because you can sit there and be like, nah, she's not going to be interested. Like, I don't really like redheads. Like, what are you talking about? Lean in, go with what you said, and just do it. I promise you it's right. So, because I could have talked myself out of it 500 times. I tried to. I tried all kinds of stuff to talk myself out of it. And it's just, you have to understand that voice is there and then push it away. And then advice on school specifically. I mean, I'm well aware that I go to a very expensive, very prestige school that's like, but I think that you need to have a lot of intention. I don't think school is a good investment to just go. I could maybe see it if you feel like after high school you need, some more maturity or you want to grow your network, but if you're going for content and you think that the content is going to make you more successful in the real life, I would challenge that that's more than likely not it. Like when you go to Princeton for your undergrad, you're not going because their accounting classes are better. You're going there because that's where the next senator is going to school and you're networking with those people and stuff. So for me, I started StrongSide and we'll get into that, but over the past 5 years, I've bought and sold 13 companies. And in the process of buying and selling 13 companies, I found a new passion. And that passion is buying and selling businesses. So I looked at it as a problem to solve. I tried to buy different businesses. I tried to go bigger on my own. I was knocking on doors left and right. I was trying to get into this world called private equity as a person that had bought and sold a bunch of gyms, and nobody would take my phone call because my deals are too small. I got no credibility. I didn't go to school. There was like, it was just too hard. And I didn't want to keep playing the buy a couple gyms for a couple $100,000 here and a couple $100,000 there. I wanted to play with the big boys. That's just what I wanted to do. And I realized that there was no way that anybody was going to take my call or let me get in the room without getting this MBA from a really good school. And it turned out that private equity, specifically, the best school to go to was Columbia. So I figured out a process that allowed me to get to Columbia. I think an intentional, because it's a business. It is a business that you're investing into. In this case, that business you're investing into is yourself. So you need to look at the ROI. And for me, the ROI will pay off because once I get in the room, I'm going to close the deal. I'm just trying to get more rooms.
How did you come up with your study plan?
I'm just a real, problematic person. And what I did is, so I never went to school, but I was talking to Columbia and I went through it all. And I knew I wanted to do an executive MBA program because you're dealing with more C-level executives, people at a higher level, just for a bunch of reasons. I wanted to do that. The curriculum's the same. It's just how you attend that program and who you're with is different. So I started talking to Columbia and I was like, hey, I want to get into this executive MBA program. And, here's my resume. I go through the application process. I was very fortunate to have amazing recommenders. I'm on the board at Kennesaw State University. I didn't even go to college, so I think that's awesome. But I got the dean to write me one. It was just, you spend 20 years building this network, and then you leverage that network, because of all the great stuff you did to help your friends. So, but I had everything except the bachelor's degree. They were willing to waive like a GMAT score or GRE or whatever, but they were very insistent that the barrier of entry was a bachelor. So I looked at it as a problem to solve. I put in my entrepreneur mind, I don't have to go to school for 4 years. I started doing some Googling and I realized that there might be a better solution once I found this thing called CLEP exams. So apparently you can take a thing called a CLEP exam. If you show competency, the university will not make you take that course. And then I started realizing that you can also get like real world experience. So if you were to go to a school and then show that you've been in this industry for that long, they'll waive some of your courses. So I started going down this rabbit hole of just competency based. And I found a program called Western Governors University. It's all online and it's self-paced and it's competency based. So if you can score well enough on the exams, then you pass the course. So I took that and I sent it to every school I was applying to. It was like Columbia, NYU, Kellogg. I was looking at these different programs and they all said they accepted it. And I said, okay, well, great. That's what I'm going to do. Cause I got everything else. I just don't have the bachelor's. So I did that. And then I worked backwards from it. So I said, okay, I have to apply by this date. If I'm going to apply by this date, I have to be done by this date. Well, that means I need to start by this date if I'm planning to be done. And I broke it out to where I could do a course about once a week. Sometimes they were longer. So some of the courses, you know, they're not all easy. They're pretty challenging. So some of them took me a little bit longer. Some of them took 2-3 weeks. But there was times where I was able to, like, I'm a really good writer and I can do projects really well. So I was able to sometimes bang out 2 of those in a week, and that kind of helped me. It wasn't easy. It was just, you know, I've been in the professional space for 20 years. It's not that hard for me to write a business plan. If 15 years ago, it'd have been very hard. So I did it, worked through it, and it was head down. I knew this is the most important part. I knew that if I told people that it would dilute the urgency or the focus, I told no one except my wife. And she was sworn to secrecy, and it was head down. I mean, I was like, I need to tell no one. I need to do this. I need to just mow through it. And I stayed to my plan, stayed to my cadence, and got it done.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I'm more excited about the Columbia thing because I just kind of my mentality was to look at it like Ironman. I've done 4 full Ironman triathlons. So I always noticed when I was training for an Ironman that it was about I could devote about 3 hours a day. So 3 hours a day, that was manageable. You start doing 4 or 5 hours a day, then I have to trade stuff. I can't work as much. I can't, and that's not good either. So that's what got me through the undergrad. I could devote 3 hours a day, and just 3 hours a day, no excuses, go get it. The reason I say, to answer your question about how I feel very proud about Columbia, because that is like, it's something like a 5% acceptance rate or something. Nobody in my family has ever done this. My uncle did, but he's married in. Nobody like blood in ever did anything. I didn't even think this has never been a possibility in my life. So I feel like I kind of broke the bloodline a little bit, which I love.
And you didn't come from a trust fund.
No, I came from
Like
that
what?
$20 on the
Like
on the wall.
I want to paint the picture for the audience. Like, what's the population of your hometown, or roughly, or like the socioeconomic, status of that area? It's not like ballpark.
Yeah, so I don't know the amount of people, but so I moved to Douglasville in like early 90s, mid 90s, something like that. And literally it was a gravel road. We had to get everybody in the town to sign a petition, literally, so the town would pave it. But we had
Well, that's maybe not so funny. Poor people.
well, I mean, it's just, it was new,
It's tough.
up
Yeah,
and
no,
coming.
it's hard.
It's like one of those things like emerging markets, but emerging markets are always emerging. It's like you never get there. And then, yeah, so it was one stoplight. And then now Douglasville, I believe Douglasville is the like highest drug city in the state or something like that for like meth and cocaine. It's just not it's not good. It's like I could go into all these examples about all these things that are bad from Douglasville. The reason that I didn't like it is I felt like you're kind of like a crab in a bucket where they don't need to put the lid on it, because every time that a crab tries to crawl out of the bucket, another crab will pull it down and you can't grow out of it. And I think a lot of that it's disseminated from love. They love and care about you. But here's where you hear it. and it just didn't sit well with me. That nobody comes up to you and tries to pull you down. Like anybody that ever listens to this from my hometown, they're going to be like, we don't pull people down. But here's how you do it. When you see like a nice car drive through the neighborhood, you don't go, wow, that's a nice car. You go, who needs that? That's just too expensive. Or you start putting down rich people. Like, why do they have to have so much money? Or, why do you, every time somebody tries to get better, you have to make a snide comment? Why can't you just be like, you went to Italy? Good for you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And there's none of that. So the whole ecosystem just stays flat because it's unacceptable to do better.
Well, it's a brilliant observation. Uh, what are some of the elements like? So I'm thinking strong side group training was the foundation, correct? You're gathering strangers and like a symphony.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, um, were you scared the first time that you did your first group class? Do you remember it? How did you get
Yeah.
people moving and shaking and getting along? I always avoided those group things because I felt awkward and naked and vulnerable, and I'd rather do something myself. So, like, how did you lead that? Do you remember the first time?
Yeah, it was in September of 2008. So I started as a trainer in May of 2008, and the economy crashed in September. And anybody who doesn't remember that or didn't live it,
Yeah.
it was wild. I remember I was working at Lifetime. I was in the gym and like the whole gym stops and everybody's just staring at the TVs. And I was 19. I didn't even
Oh,
know what an economy was. It was like, what's happening? But what I did know is I had 22 clients pay me $1,100 a month for personal training. It was a very, very affluent area. And they were calling me left and right, saying this thing called an economy is in the tank and they need to cancel. And it was
hmm.
like, oh my God, like just, sirens everywhere, right? And what I was hearing was that everybody wanted to stop training because they couldn't afford it. So once I heard that, I said, wait, you're not saying that you don't want to do it. You're just saying you can't afford it. So how about instead of $1,100 a month, I'll charge you like $175 a month and I'll put you in groups of like 10 people and we'll call it a boot camp. And instead of making a lot of money on a few people, I'll make a little bit of money on a whole bunch of people. And I found out a couple things. Number one, I was less financially liable. If for any reason somebody quit, it was a dinger, but it wasn't a whoa, just lost 5% of my income or something. They push each other harder than I could ever push them. And one on one, you can only get so much. When you put them in a group, they start just pulling each other in and just going nuts with it. And then I just word of mouth and audience. Everybody saw me as the boot camp guy. And then all of a sudden, my classes were taking over gymnasiums and you couldn't get
Wow.
an appointment with me. And I went from, I booked 36 sales appointments in a row and closed zero. I was not doing well, all the way to being the number one producer in the company just from group training.
Yeah, that's pretty profound. Wh- what do you think was so hard about the one-on-one?
One on one so it requires a couple things. Number one, that client has to be extremely interested in it for whatever reason. Like I'm a one on one guy. If I did not own StrongSide, if I was to go to a gym and hire a trainer, I really think that I would gravitate more towards one on one because I like access. I want to train whenever I want, however long I want to train it. I want you to do exactly what you want me to do. Or I might want an emotional connection. Like I like this person, I like this friend. You just like it, dude. Just whatever.
Yeah.
But that also requires a trainer that understands that. Like I can't train more than 3 clients in a row or I am mentally fried. I like 1 to 2 is the highlight of my day and then I'm on to the next thing because I'm giving so much. It's not the classes kind of run themselves as long as you guide them, so it doesn't demand as much mental and emotional exhaustion from the client. You're also, when you're doing one-on-one, it's 100% dependent on how much that client likes you. That's a pretty hard demand. I mean, you can't say nothing. You can't throw a political comment out there they don't like. You got to respond to their text messages the right way. You can't throw them off nothing because you're only going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 clients. You lose one, that's 15% of your income. So you have to be very focused on those one-on-one clients. And that's fine. That's just how that game is. The group training game is a little bit more fluid. Now you have to be high energy and you have to move them, but you can be a little bit like pulled off from it and it'll still have a good outcome because they drive themselves.
The what would you say is the I know you worked on your core values at one point.
Yeah, love them.
Why do you love them?
So we have two things. We have our 24 fundamentals, and then we have the strong side 10. And the 24 fundamentals are team member facing. We don't mind sharing with the members, just makes more sense. And then the strong side 10 are they're called the rules of engagement, and they're put up in every single gym. And it's what the community needs to focus on, and then it's what the team members need to focus on. Because what we found, and shout out to Eddie Perez, he guided me a lot on this, but what we found is, it's when you say do the right thing, when you say that, I'll just use that as an example. That's our first fundamental: do the right thing always. Well,
Love that.
when you look at that though, it's like it's a little interpretive. So if I tell the whole team do the right thing always, that's going to mean something different to everybody else. So what we do is we define it. Every hard decision should be a triple win. It should be a win for the member, the team member, and the company. If it's not a triple win, then it's not doing the right thing, meaning that a customer might want something that hurts the team member. We're not going to make that decision. Or the team member might want something that hurts the company. We're not going to make that decision. We want to do the right thing, and the right thing is always the triple win. And we take those 24 fundamentals and we break them down.
What before you had that, and it was a part of the rituals, the company. How different was the culture?
It was kind of like it was like going bowling, but you didn't have guardrails. So it was like everybody was always trying to hit the bowling pins at the end because people are good people. They want to show up. They want to do a good job. Nobody wants to do a bad job. And they were really trying to hit those pins, but they couldn't because they didn't know where we kind of lived. And once they understand where we live and what the guardrails are and, little stuff like all of our music is edited. Well, why is that? Because 60% of our market is women. We target 35 to 55-year-old people that can bring their kids and stuff. And it's like, oh, all right, now the coach knows all playlists are edited. And here's that, like, you just put up guardrails for that kind of stuff.
Hmm. What are some factors that totally undermine or dismantle a gym environment, a gym business? It's like those are the no-nos in your estimation.
Yeah. So there's a couple. One of them's funny. Two of them are really serious. Number one, don't hurt people. That's one of the really serious ones. Any
Dude,
gym who
I've
gets
seen that.
and it's like if you get hurts people connected to your name, you're so out of business. And it doesn't even have to be literally hurts them. Like more than likely, you're not ever. I've never hurt a single person, and I've been training since I was 18.
Wow.
But that doesn't mean that there couldn't be the perception of hurt, and the perception of hurt meaning that they overtrained or they missed a box jump or something like that. And hit their leg. Just don't do it. Be as safe as possible all the time. Number two, don't sleep with members. That's the funny one, but that's true. It's
Wow.
like I can't tell you the amount of gym owners that because gyms, especially group training, is primarily female. It's just how it's going to be. And I don't know if they just don't think that there's not other women in the world or whatever. I don't know, but it's so don't do it. It's not good.
I think it's actually amazing that you're bringing that up because uh I think that's one of the industry what maybe it's not spoken about, but that will destroy a culture very quickly.
Yeah.
So
And
I admire you for bringing that up.
and it's not like we don't allow it. It's not like because then that would be a cult. But what we do is we have like disclosure agreements and a relationship policy. So if somebody enters into a relationship with a member, but and it's to protect the team member because the likelihood of you breaking up is insanely high, and you want to be protected if something were to ever happen. But I feel we're a really professional company. What happens more often is it's the small gym of 80 members and then a member starts hooking up and then they want to hook up with a different member and all that. You don't want to do that. which leads to number 3, don't create cliques. That's the biggest thing that'll kill your gym. I call it the vocal minority, but what you'll typically notice is the people that have the most problems speak up often. But what they speak up about doesn't really impact the vast majority. So it's very easy to lean into the 2 to 3 people that want to complain all the time because they're insanely loud. So it makes it seem like it's a big problem. But what you're doing is you're making decisions or groups around those 3 people that aren't a really good representation of everybody else, and they create cliques. They form up in circles. They sit in the back of the room. They have their equipment. Trainers want to be liked. They're service people, and that's fine. But they gravitate towards the trainer. They connect with the trainer. So the trainer or the gym owner doesn't realize that there's 12 other people in the room they're not connecting with. Who pays your bills? The 12 other people in the room. The 2 people that complain all the time, like, they're just always going to be there. And even if they left, your gym might actually grow. But you got to pay attention to no clicks.
Mm. What do you think about the industry of the health and wellness?
I think it's fragmented and broken, and I think it's terrible. I don't think anybody's winning. I don't. And the reason that I don't, just to like give context to it, nothing in the fitness space is regulated. And I'm not saying that we need to regulate everything. What I'm saying is for economies to work, an economy to have scale, for businesses to truly compete, there needs to be standardized systems and processes and even a code of ethics. So I give you an example. There's no minimum barrier for knowledge to enter the field. I'm not here to govern what that knowledge should be. What I am saying is, as an employer, I have no idea who or what I'm hiring. So think of any other industry. It can be accountants. Well, when they pass the CPA exam, any accounting firm can hire them, and they know exactly what they're getting. So they can build a training program. I can go take my Series 7 exam to trade stocks. I can go take a BMW mechanic certification. And any place that rebuilds BMWs can know what to expect from me as an employee. Well, a trainer at Orange Theory does not go through the same information as LA Fitness or F45 or CrossFit. So problem number 1 is that we don't know who we're hiring. So we have to find these unicorns that takes forever and then train them for an extended period of time. That's time spent from not growing the business. Well, then fitness itself isn't defined. So it's like this loose-ended, like, kind of art, kind of not. But that means that no 2 businesses have decided how to operate themselves. No 2 businesses have entered into a code of ethics. No 2 businesses are striving towards the same thing. So what happens is you take all these customers, and there's not a lot of them because not a lot of people like to exercise. And then you give them hundreds of different options that may or may not work, with trainers that may or may not be giving the same information, with managers that may or may not have agreed to operate their businesses the same way. Could you imagine going into a doctor's office and the first one decides to do your labs to prescribe the medication, and the second one goes, nah, we don't need labs. We'll just provide you with this narcotic. Like, it's fine. And when you hear that, you might go, well, that seems excessive. Yeah, until somebody comes in 300 pounds overweight, you make them do burpees and have a heart attack. Like, the trainer didn't have any baseline knowledge to understand that, because there was no governing body. So I think it stalls the whole system. And I think that's why you have so many gyms reach a level of about 80 to 100 members. They have gym owners that get in at 25. They sign their first lease. They're done by 32 or 35 because they realize they can't support their family. The gym turnover is really, really quick. I've never met a rich trainer. I am the only trainer that goes on vacation. I am the only trainer that I know of that, like, has a nice car. And I'm saying that broadly. There's people on our team that go on vacations that have nice cars. I'm saying, like, the average full-time trainer making 32 grand a year leaves the industry after 12 months. You can't build a book of business.
What has StrongSide done to lead to your trainers to excel with their customers, with the customers, and in their careers? What would you say the
We
formula?
No, yeah, that's a great question. We systemized everything. So just to become a coach, you have to go through an 8-week onboarding process. That onboarding process goes through 4 phases. It starts with you just observing. You literally just stand in front of the class with your strong side shirt on and meet all the members while the main coach coaches all the classes. Because what we know is that you can't make decisions with a high level of anxiety. So we need to spend a lot of time getting you used to class, comfortable, and lower your anxiety level. On the back end of that, as you go through the 4 phases, you're meeting with me twice. You're meeting with your club managers, the guys who run the facilities, at least once a week. And you're going from observing to then taking on more and more roles in the class, whether it's leading part of it, teaching movement, something like that, all the way to at the end of your onboarding process, you teach the entire class while being observed. And there's a checklist that you have to get signed off on. You get performance reviews twice a year. Each performance review is broken into the 6 criteria of effective coaching. So we look at 6 different elements of our coaches. We do 2 to 3 times a year, depending on the year, coaches summits, where we bring our whole team together, focus on education. And all of this education we make in-house. There is no certification that teaches group training. What we do is offer group training. We teach you how to teach these exercises. The tricky thing about no governing body for exercises, it's not like you go to college and get a degree in exercise science and learn how to move barbells. That's not what they're teaching you. We have to teach every bit of that. We have an entire coach's manual, 65 pages long, of how to teach, see, and correct movement, how to administer a class, how to greet people, how to give them a tour, how to adjust the music, everything that allows for a proper class experience. And then that's to get you in the door. After you get in the door, we have 8 other systems that we've created for our coaches to make money, from one-on-one training to small group personal training to online coaching to managing a location. We have 8 other ways that our coaches can add to their paychecks. Now, if they choose to take that, then they can. They don't have to. The minimum is they have to coach classes, but we've streamlined everything. Coaches struggle because what they'll do is they'll go out in the world and they say, I want to train people. So they'll try to sign somebody up. They'll get into price bargains. They just like, $50 an hour. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, $40 an hour, whatever. They'll Venmo back and forth. They don't realize that unprofessionalism and lack of urgency is actually driving them out of business. So we created a standard. It's this much. You get this much for doing it. We W-2 everybody. We pay for all their insurances, all the whole 9 yards. But in trade for that, you're going to sign a non-compete, so you can't take your clients, stuff like that. But we provide everything for you. You get 24-hour access to multiple locations, and we give you a whole bunch of people to service. And then we teach you how to train your people long-term, and we advise you on how to program your clients. If you're in StrongSide, we're very open about that. We're only successful if you're successful. So our best interest is to build you up and pour into you so you can be better, so we can go get better.
What was inspiring about the idea of infinity as it relates to StrongSide?
What do you mean infinity?
In another podcast, you talked about the idea, the name of StrongSide representing like an infinite.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I came up with the name of StrongSide because all my clients, like I knew I didn't want it to be like Woodstock Health and Fitness. I felt like that was really limiting. So everybody, the sum of everything that everybody was asking me to do came down to being stronger. People would say something like, I want to make better nutrition decisions. And it wasn't that you're uneducated. It was that you need stronger willpower or something like that. Somebody would say they want to do a pull-up. And I have a joking line where I'm always saying, get stronger, because that is the answer, and there's ways to do it. But everything came back to strength. So what I wanted to do was just be your strong side. And that's mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I don't mean spiritually in the sense of religion. I mean spiritually in the sense about how you feel about yourself. I am a better me, and I'm going to go lead me so I can lead other people. But we want to provide that. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. Pigeonholing yourself would be only using this type of equipment, only providing this type of fitness. We have a lot of barbells. I tell our team all the time, we could burn the barbells today. They could come out today and say barbells cause cancer, and we're throwing them in the dumpster, and our business will live on because we're not married to this one way of doing thing. we're married to making people stronger mentally, physically, and spiritually, and being the strong side of their life.
Is there any connection with this hit me like as a visual when you were, because I did a lot of research. You're a fascinating guy, really talented, very smart. And you said that you were, and I identified this at 12. I was very heavy. I remember grabbing my stomach and saying, I'm never eating a burrito again. I started with one dumbbell. Barbara can only afford to buy me a 5, a 10, a 20, a 30, and a 40 because so I just did one most. Anyway, you were 5'5", you were 200 pounds. I mean, how old were you? Like 12?
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah, and like when you were just saying what you were saying, I was thinking like you said that you went to your mom. What was your mom's name?
Tiffany.
Tiffany. Um, yeah, and and because you were being bullied, and
Yeah, I got sitting home. Yeah, go ahead.
no, and you went a couple times. Then she's like, "All right, what are you going to do about it?" That's very inspiring. Like, I was thinking, we have our weak side and we have our strong side. That's a very, I don't know, just a very deep, meaningful interaction. Because you've told that story a couple times in podcasts, and like you chose to be strong, and like look at you now. We didn't even talk about. I was going to make a joke like, yeah, you've always been this ripped, but it's like the audience, if they don't follow you everywhere yet, like you were not this ripped as a kid. You're
No, I was miserable.
anyway. I just that's something that came to my mind when you were telling that story. It's like strong side has so much meaning. I love the name so much because your life, I think, exemplifies choosing the strong side. Like a lot of our listeners, it's like we have two types of listeners, people that come on the show. Like McGilchrist yesterday, super educated, or like people that never went to school. And then
Okay.
like I hope you're a foreshadow for some of the ones in the middle that are like have that super talent that are going. Like I was kicked out of my second high school, I don't tell the audience that enough. So your story is inspiring to me. Um, anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I love the name so much, and it makes sense. I think your example is your whole life has demonstrated a strong side. It's no wonder all these trainers want to work with you, and that's why I want to learn about your vision. Uh, it's no wonder that they want to work with you and for you in that capacity. And um, so many, like I said, our mutual friend sings your praises.
Yeah, I think it's if you I'm sure you have, but if your audience hasn't read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl,
Oh yeah,
it
I think
talks
I have
about
it here.
giving your pain a voice and just, how he was able to survive all
Yeah,
these concentration camps and stuff. But
yeah,
I think that's critical. There it is. But you got to
great
give your
book.
pain a voice. And a lot of times people ask me about entrepreneurship and their question is, should they do it or not?
Yeah.
And my question is, what's your pain? Because if you want to start a business
Mm.
to start a business, you're going to fail. But
Yeah.
if you can pull from your pain, because everything in Strong Side, it's got my sprinkles on it. And
Yes.
and those sprinkles come from my pain. When I was 5'5" and 200 pounds, it was because I was getting sent home from school every day crying. And on top of that, I wrote this girl a secret admirer note, and she ripped it up, threw it in the trash, and told me she'd never date a fat kid. And I went home and I ate a bunch of cookies. And that was the first time that I realized that I was
Amen.
trading an emotional experience for food, because food never pointed the finger at me. Food never put me down. Food always made me feel good. I was always satisfied. There was no negativity from it, except it was the reason that I hated myself. And then you fast forward to Strong Side today, and it's like, why are we so happy? Why do we greet people? Why do we lower their anxiety? Because I remember standing in the shower looking down, and my belly was so big I couldn't see my feet. I remember being mortified to take my shirt off to go into the pool. I hated everything about me because I never felt accepted. You didn't pick me in PE class. You were stuck with me. I was the last one. every single time. I don't want that. I want to create an environment that demands you work your butt off, but allows you to be as successful as you would like to be. You can take it as far as you want to go, or you can do nothing with it, but it's your opportunity. But every member, every team member, if you're willing to take it, we are going to pour everything into you, because my life is dedicated to making sure that nobody ever has to feel like I did at 13. So if you're going to start a company, you better have some pain and pull that pain in there.
These what do you think of the big box institutions? Like, have they forgotten their pain?
That's a good second part of the question. I don't think anybody gets into, like, I don't know. I don't like picking on these. I don't try to pick on big businesses and say that they're the devil and this is what they do. Like, okay, here's how their model works though. And I like, I'll give you two examples. Every big box gym in the world, and then Planet Fitness. So every big box gym in the world, it is made to have a whole bunch of people that don't come to the gym. Okay, why is that? If everybody came to the gym, it would go out of business. It has 2 squat racks. It has 100 pieces of treadmill equipment, whatever, but it has 13,000 members. If 5%, 10% of people show up, it goes out of business. So it's kind of like insurance. You know, if everybody uses it, then you can't pay out on it, you go out of business. I get that. That's not really the company's responsibility. That is your responsibility to show up and use the gym. So I wouldn't lean on that product as something that's supposed to motivate you, something that's supposed to call you. Like, it's just not. It's up to you to wake up in the morning and go to the gym. You have like a strong side. We focus on getting 40% of our members in the gym every week. We have a policy that if you are gone for greater than 2 weeks, our club managers have to reach out to you. There's 2 times per month that they have to reach out to all non-utilization people on the list. Like, that is just what we do, is we get you to use the product. We also charge you a lot more than a Planet Fitness, so that expectation is there, but it's a different environment. So in that case, I would want some community, some connection, something like that. I jokingly say that Planet Fitness has the best business model, because I don't know who's caught on to this, but this is what they did. Whether they chose to do it or not, they looked at what you do is you say, okay, on average, 88% of people will never use the gym. You're usually playing at a big box gym, you're usually playing with 12%. 12% will use it. Some might use it more than others, but you judge that on a 30-day rotation. But then you take those people and you say, okay, with the people that use the gym, what do they use? They use chalk, they use barbells, they grunt, and they make loud noises, they use dumbbells. So what we'll do at Planet Fitness is we'll say that's not allowed. You can't use chalk. You can't use barbells. I'm like, dude, you just took the 12%, told them they can't come to the gym. You're never going to have anybody in the gym. You're going to sign everybody up, and you're going to create a whole bunch of policies for the people that use it frequently. I bet you're making so much money. But at the end of the day,
the average Planet makes over $1 million a year.
I think that, to me, that's on the customer. It's up to you to get up to the gym and go. I don't care. The 3 examples I just gave, it is your responsibility more than it's the company's responsibility to use the gym. I think the real detriment to the fitness and wellness space is all the nutrition, supplementation, and like wearable technologies that help people arrive at a false decision. I think that it's very easy to take something that may work for 1% of people and blow it up into this massive thing, and then sway the market to lean into their emotions. Think of it this way. What is a person? A person is an economic unit. If you get enough of them together, you create a market. What do people have in a market? They have emotions. So how do you sway a market? Their feelings. And if you can attack somebody's feelings, you can attack a market. So you tell all these people that they're going to get really thin really quick off of biohacking, anti-aging, doing all, you need 6 different types of whoops and whatever. And I get it. I'm wearing an aura right now. I do my own thing. I get that. But I am very focused on the few things that actually work. And I think a lot of people are misguided by maybe might work type information that they latch onto so quickly because they're desperately not wanting to weigh what they weigh. And I think that's doing more harm.
How did the smaller gyms undermine themselves? What do you, because you said you did 13 acquisitions.
Yeah.
What opportunities did you see and how did you create value?
I think it goes back to standardization. So what happens is a lot of the gyms all the gyms that I bought have either been well, I shouldn't say all of them, most of them have been CrossFit gyms. And then one was a former franchise of another company. And then the other ones were like, Joey started Joey's gym or something like that. But the vast majority have been like CrossFit gyms. And what I typically notice is that there's a lack of standardization. So what happens is the gym owner puts all their time into building the gym. And when they don't, before they open the gym, they have all this time. So they go and they market, and they tell people, and they do whatever, and they get all in the gym. And then the gym starts filling up with people, but they're coaching all the classes. So their marketing time and business admin time goes down, and it levels off at about 80 members. And what they're not able to do, it's like 80 to 110. They're not able to figure out the system to grow past that. So they get stuck. And the reason that they get stuck there is because our market is so small. On paper, we are the dumbest business model that you could ever make, because what we sell, this would literally be your pitch to investors. I sell a product that very few people like to do. In fact, over half the world is obese, proving that they don't like to exercise. So a very small amount of people will participate in my product. Okay. Of the amount of people that participate in their product, do they like to work out really hard? No, most people don't like to work out really hard. Well, is working out hard required to reach your goal? Well, okay, yes. Okay. Well, if somebody likes to work out really hard, do you think they'll do it a lot? Like, well, you think they'll show up 3-4 days a week? Actually, no. All of our data shows that people will not attend the gym frequently at all, and they won't work out really hard. We're there of the few amount of people like to go to the gym. And then finally, maybe you could say, all right, if I find somebody that will go to the gym, work out really hard, and work out consistently, will their results be fast? No, not at all. Actually, you'll have really slow results that take a very long time, that are very hard to get to, and you're going to have to change your entire life. So if somebody comes in the gym 70 pounds overweight, instantly they're going to have to change their friend circle. They will be ridiculed every time they go out to dinner for ordering a salad. They're going to be made fun of for being the non-drinker. They more than likely have a spouse that doesn't support them. Their friends and family are wanting them to eat chicken fingers. They're going to be stressed with fast food restaurants everywhere, and they're driving the kids around. They just need to get dinner, and they just need to calm down and say, oh my God, and they can't handle it at all. But you want them to change their whole life and lose 70 pounds and work out 4 days a week and drive there and then exercise really hard. And somehow they're supposed to stay motivated. So you can't have this many gyms. You cannot have 13,000 CrossFit gyms, 1,500 F45s, 1,500 Orange Theories, 500 F45s, however many golds. You can't do that. You cannot do that in a market of people that hate buying the product. They'll say they love it, but they choose not to do it. There's not that many people. What you need is a consolidation of gyms. You need a higher value product, and you need a system for how these things operate. So what I've done with every gym that I've gone into, I just drive by your gym at like 9-10 o'clock in the morning, see if it's busy. If it's not busy, I know you're broke. That's like a peak time. Send them some cold DMs, and then I go in, I find the gym stressed out, and I say, here's the deal. I'll offer you a seller financing program. I will take all your people. In some cases, we have taken over their facility and turned it into a StrongSide. Or if you're close enough, we'll merge you into StrongSide. And then we're going to come up with an amount that we should sell the gym and its assets for. But I'm not going to write you a check. I'm going to pay you off the members for 12, 18 months, whatever we come to. I'm going to pay off the cash flow of the business. So I don't have to pay out any money because I've already built up all the infrastructure. And the gym owner gets money coming in for 12, 18 months to go figure out the next part of their life. And it's a really great transaction that works for everybody. We're able to bring the members in to a very high quality experience and a great product. We do a great onboarding process to do that. The coaches all get jobs. The owners get checks. Go back, do the right thing always. Principle number one, is it a win for the member, the team member, and the company? Yes. And you just do that. And it all just comes down to systems. I mean, you're talking everything. No two gyms charge the same. No two gyms have the same CRM. I mean, it's ridiculous.
If there's a gym owner listening to this right now, it's the fastest way they can contact you. They want to connect with you.
So my email is Mitchell, 1L, at the-strongside.com. And I'm probably the only Mitchel Black with 1L that you can find. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Mitchel Black, hit me up. Or you can just go to the Strong Side website. My email's on there. I'll hit you back within 5 minutes.
Mitchell, I'm excited already for you to come back again. You're invited back anytime. There's so much to learn. If you listen to this podcast, I challenge you, follow Mitchell. And if you're at a place and a point in your business life where you're looking for a partner, clearly Mitchell's someone to share ideas, shake his hand, go see him, go check out Strong Side. And it's been a blessing to have you on the show, brother. Thanks for the inspiration and the reminder that we could always learn more.
I appreciate you, Jay, man. I think you ask really great questions. I mean, just watching interview Jordan Peterson and stuff. I mean, you're awesome to chat with. The research you do, you're just a elite level first class experience. I appreciate just even being on the podcast.
It's an honor. If you're listening to this, please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast. Thanks, Mitchell.